just keep going, no matter what you're facing right now. Because if you quit right now, then what? Whether that's chasing your dream, whether that's trying to make it to the next day, whether that's facing a next challenge or a problem, just keep moving forward. Because if you were to quit right now, what do you have to live for? What do you have to lose? Right? Because this is something that we often have to ask ourselves, is when we do quit, then what? Right? Let's say hypothetically you were to quit pursuing your dream. You were to quit all of it. And then if you were to quit, then what would you do tomorrow? What would you do next week? What would you do next month? Nothing. Life will become boring. Life will become no meaning. And then you'll start to have these thoughts in your head of failure and regress. And you'll think about your failure and dwell on it, thinking how life is meaningless. Life is unfair, which it is, but you'll start to get all these negative thoughts, and then you'll have the regret of, oh man, maybe if I just kept going, maybe if I just kept pursuing what I was going to do, maybe it would work. Because then you'll start to self-compare yourself to other people. And here's something I will say is that when you start to get all the thought process, you start to slowly turn into Squidward from SpongeBob. And I know it sounds like a really weird comparison, but I used to love that show growing up. And something that I always noticed is that when I was a kid, I always felt like SpongeBob. But as I got older, I started to see myself as Squidward, as I started to feel like life is really boring, life is very dull, life is like, man, like, you bury your hopes and dreams in a way, because listen, I'm 23, I just graduated college, and now that I'm trying to figure out my stuff, I feel like I can't keep pursuing my dream. And that's what made me realize, no, that's not true, I want to slowly start to turn more into SpongeBob and less Squidward, because having that mindset of SpongeBob really impacts you, can really change the way you think about things, especially when you want to keep pushing forward, And I'm going to probably talk about this in another video. I really want to go more in depth with that, but a little quick summary of it is when you have a positive mindset, when you keep living life to the fullest, that life is too short, you start to see things differently. You start to see more good things to come, Listen, I don't want to make this sound like spiritual, because I don't really know all about that stuff, but I will say is that what you bring out to the world, you attract back to yourself. And that's just in a way, kind of facts, right? If you keep thinking about more negative stuff, more negative things will happen, a great example is, if you are on a slope and going down the hill, and you keep saying, don't hit a tree, you'll probably hit a tree, because that's all you're thinking of, right? But if you were to just go down that slope, do the best that you can, you'll probably have a nice ride down, And it really comes to the same concept of what you think of, what the thought process of what you're thinking, And that's, like I say, is that when you have the power of what you think, you can change the perspective of your life in general. And coming back and tying it back to keep pushing forward and keep going, it really ties into that, because when you keep pushing forward, when you keep moving forward, that's it, There's really not much to live for without that. And I know it sounds very miserable, maybe even a little bit sad, but what else is there, if you were to quit right now, right, then what? You'll probably wake up every day, you'll probably work at a 9-to-5 job, you'll probably have a job that can't pay the bills, you'll have to listen to a 50-year-old man or woman that will tell you what to do, get them coffee, and then you come home, and then you realize, what the hell am I doing with my life, And this is something that we often see. I think that's a good thing, that we're finally starting to wake up. And with that being said, now is the time to keep pushing forward, because if that's not the life that you want, then you need to keep pushing forward toward what the life that you want, I've seen data on 83% of Americans truly hate their job, truly hate their 9-to-5 job. And my biggest fear was that if I was to get a 9-to-5 job, I want to truly try to find a way to make a job that I love. And now that I'm slowly applying for more and more jobs, I'm starting to realize is that what job is there that I would kind of like. And I thought maybe marketing, and I really thought that. And I went to a marketing event last week, and something I realized was that everything is really cut and throws, if you're not the greatest, if you're not the best yet, they want nothing to do with you. And I understand that in a business standpoint and a logic standpoint, but it really makes you realize is that these people are not loyal. These people are more results, you know. And I understand that, but then that's what made me realize that is this the job I really want? Because life is too short to live a life with fake people. Life is too short to live with people with that type of mentality. You want to find genuine people. You want to find people that you could trust and that will truly have your back. And I know it's not easy to find these days, as life gets harder when you get older because you have less of a trust process, you know. When you're young, you kind of trust anyone, right? You can make a friend like that. But when you get older, it's kind of hard to make friends. And that's something I'm slowly starting to process. And I really don't want to believe it, but that's something I have noticed. Another thing I will say is that with all that being said is that when you keep pushing forward, you find hope. You find a way of will to live, in a way. You know, I'm not saying that maybe you don't have the will to live, but you find a way to, oh, this is why I get up every morning, you know. When I make videos for my content creation, or when I'm trying to make something work for my business, that's what I live for. That's what drives me every day getting out of bed, you know. Not working at some construction site, not working at some job that I really don't like at the moment, you know. Those are just to pay the bills, and it's horrible, you know, I will say, because it consumes so much of my time with the commute and the actual work labor and with such little pay just to pay the bills. But if it wasn't for that, I can't survive. And having to know that I have something to look forward for, whether that's pursuing the content creation or my business and trying to make something great, that's something great. That's something special. And that's something that you guys need to remember, that why you started. Why did you start to do what you're doing today? And once you have that strong reason why, use that as a reminder. Use that as leverage, that the only way to get out of this terrible job, this terrible lifestyle, is to keep pushing forward towards my dream. That's it. Period. And once you have that, you'll keep moving forward. And when you keep moving forward, eventually things will work and flow. Whether it takes you 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you know. And I know it sounds so long, like 20 years, 30 years, you know. Like, I can't wait that long. But if you don't, then what, you know? Then you're just going to live a miserable life. Then you're going to have a lifestyle that you generally just hate for the rest of your life. You're going to be one of those, like, grumpy old people or grumpy adults that you start to slowly turn into. And that's truly, from my perspective, is something that I never really want to become. An adult that I talk bad about life. Become an adult where I talk about how life is unfair, or how miserable life is, or all my problems are just like the worst, you know. We all know that, you know. People around us all know that. They're all dealing with their own stuff. But again, like I said before, it's like the way you perceive it. Period, you know. But that's pretty much it, guys. Just keep pushing forward no matter where you are in life, you know. And I know in time it will work out. It might not look like it maybe today, tomorrow, or in a year or 2 years from now, but you'll slowly start to realize, once you change that perspective, once you keep pushing forward, once you have something to look forward for, everything will fall into place. You know, that's something that I'm currently dealing with. And that's why I truly made this video, because I want you to know that if you just keep going, things will work out. But anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow for the most part. So yeah.